guys, it's Shell Rosie. Welcome back. We're continuing the reading. This is the only way I learn, and I might as well help out you guys. Chapter 1, New World Beginnings, The Earliest Americans, page 8. I also am not going to read, if you notice on maps there's some little section, like little passages. Only I'm going to read those, or the little things that's under the pictures. If you have the book, you could read them. I'm not gonna on camera. Clearly gonna do it anyways for myself, but I don't. It kind of messes with the timeline of the passage when I'm reading. Just saying. I'm gonna start now. Agriculture, especially corn growing, accounted for the size and sophistication of the Native American civilizations in Mexico and South America. About 5,000 before Common Era, BCE, hunter-gatherers in highland Mexico developed a wild grass into the staple crop of corn, which became their staff of life and the foundation of the complex, large-scale, centralized Aztec and Incan civilizations that eventually emerged. Cultivation of corn spread across the Americas from the Mexican heartland. Everywhere it was planted, corn began to transform nomadic hunting bands into settled agricultural villagers. But this process went forward slowly and unevenly. Corn planting reached the present-day American Southwest as early as 2000 BCE, and powerfully molded Pueblo culture. The Pueblo peoples in the Rio Grande Valley constructed intricate irrigation systems to water their cornfields. They were dwelling in villages of multi-stored, terraced buildings when Spanish explorers made contact with them in the 16th century. Pueblo means village in Spanish. Corn cultivation reached other parts of North America considerably late. The timing of its arrival in different localities explains much about the relative rates of development of different Native American peoples. See map 1.2. Is that map 1.2? I don't think so. I don't know where map 1.2 is. It doesn't say. That is one map too. That's the map. If you want to hit pause, there's the whole page. If you can read it. Boom. Okay. I'm gonna continue. Throughout the continent to the north and east of the land of Pueblos, social life was less elaborately developed. Indeed, societies, in the modern sense of the word, scarcely existed. No dense concentrations of population or complex nation-states. Comparable to the Aztec Empire existed in North America outside of Mexico at the time of the Europeans' arrival, one of the reasons for the relative ease with which the European colonizers subdued the native North Americans. The mound builders of the Ohio River Valley, the Mississippian culture of the lower Midwest, and the desert-dwelling Anasazi peoples of the Southwest did sustain some large settlements after the incorporation of corn planting into their ways of life during the first millennium, Common Era. The Mississippian settlement at Cahokia, near present-day East St. Louis, was at one time home to as many as 25,000 people. The Anasazis built an elaborate pueblo of more than 600 interconnected rooms at Chaco Canyon in modern-day New Mexico. But mysteriously, perhaps due to prolonged drought, all those ancient cultures fell into decline by about 1300 Common Era, CE. The cultivation of maize as well as of high-yielding strains of beans and squash reached the southeastern Atlantic seaboard region of North America about 1000 CE. These plants made possible three sister farming, with beans growing on the trellis of the corn stalks and squash covering the planting mounds to retain moisture in the soil. The rich diet provided by this environmentally clever farming technique produced some of the highest population densities on the continent, among them the Creek, Choctaw, and Cherokee peoples. The Iroquois, I believe that's correct, I'm not quite sure. If I ever pronounce a word wrong, if you guys can spell it like the way it's pronounced in comments, that might help. Might not, because the word might not come up ever again. I'm sorry. The Iroquois in the northeastern woodlands, inspired by a legendary leader named Hiawatha, created in the 16th century perhaps the closest North American approximation to the great empires of Mexico and Peru. The Iroquois Confederacy developed the political and organizational skills to sustain a robust military alliance that menaced its neighbors, Native American and European alike, for well over a century. It says to see something on pages 33 to 39. I'm on page 8. I'm not going to flip to 38 or 39 right now. I might later. If you guys ever want me to read something like with this that I didn't read, it's like, hey, this was on page this, like page 7 and chapter 3 or whatever, comment and I'll go and I'll read it. But for the most part, the native, yes, it started with but. This was not stopped in the middle of a sentence. That was the beginning of the sentence. I'm going to start the beginning of the sentence again. But for the most part, the native peoples of North America were living in small, scattered, and impermanent settlements on the eve of the Europeans' arrival. In more settled agricultural groups, women tended the crops while men hunted, fished, gathered fuel, and cleared fields for planting. This pattern of life frequently conferred substantial authority on women, and many North American native peoples, including the Iroquois, developed this word is tricky for me. I'm sorry. Matrilineal? I'm going with matrilineal. I don't think it's right. Cultures in which power and possessions passed down the female side of the family line. Unlike the Europeans, who would soon arrive with the presumption that humans had dominion over the earth and with the technologies to alter the very faces of the land, the Native Americans had neither the desire nor the means to manipulate nature aggressively. They revered the physical world and endowed nature with spiritual properties, yet they did sometimes ignite massive forest fires, deliberately torching thousands of acres of trees to create better hunting habitats, especially for deer. This practice accounted for the open, park-like appearance of the eastern woodlands that so amazed early European explorers. But in a broad sense, the land did not feel the hand of the Native Americans heavy upon it, partly because they were so few in number. They were so thinly spread across the continent that vast areas were virtually untouched by a human presence. In the fateful year 1492, probably no more than 4 million Native Americans padded through the whispering primeval forest and paddled across the sparkling virgin waters of the continent north of Mexico. They were blissfully unaware that the historic isolation of the Americas was about to end forever, as the land and the native peoples alike felt the full shock of the European discovery. That was the earliest Americans. Ends on page 10. I'm shocked at how short these videos are, I'm not gonna lie. I could look at the timestamp and it's always like not even close to 15 minutes. I'm shocked. That is it. I always feel weird that I just read and then I just go straight to the outro. That's why I do little clips of talking here that you guys probably skip out on. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your time here on planet Earth.